Welcome to the Good Parent, Bad Parent podcast by Kenneth and Kenneth. I'm your host, Kenneth.
And I'm your host, Kenneth.
Today's show, Kenny, is American families have lost their sense of humor. What first comes to mind when you hear that?
American families have lost their sense of humor. I would say just being totally overly sensitive about things when it comes to TV.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Back in the day, TV was very important. Your family would sit around at dinner time, they would have the TV on, and this is before cell phones, before tablets, before the internet. Your only entertainment was radio or TV. And guess what? There was one TV, so you all sat around and watched the same thing. Imagine that, Kenny. Whoa.
That was fun.
So
That was good
yeah,
old days.
everyone's watching the same thing. It seems like America had a sense of humor back in the day, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. We're going to briefly discuss some of the groundbreaking shows that shifted American culture. Like, for example, All in the Family, The Jeffersons, Sanford and Son, In Living Color, and Chappelle Show, which is the most famous of all, I would say, as far as modern day, as far as the younger generation would know that name. All right. So
That was
from
a
the
good
early,
timeline.
oh yeah, it was a great time.
Mhm.
From the early 2000s until present time, things have gotten really political. Back in the day, there was a more, I guess, a greater tolerance level, wouldn't you say, Kenny,
Oh,
for,
yeah.
tongue-in-cheek jokes or jokes that were risque, I
You say
guess?
you say tolerance. I think that it was just kind of like you didn't get offended because you understood, you know. You just didn't get offended by a lot of those comments and stuff because you to me it was always some kind of positive outcome to it.
Absolutely. I mean, you just had to laugh. And back then, people had to work a lot harder, it seems, because, of course, it was pre technology, kind of. So a lot of the jobs were manual labor. And when people came home, they were exhausted and didn't have time to worry about little things and just wanted to sit down and laugh,
Need a
watching
good
TV
laugh.
while eating dinner. Exactly. All right, now let's start with the first show, Kenny. All in the Family. This show aired on CBS from 1971 to 79. Actually, that's rare that a show airs that long. Typically, what the average show runs for maybe 4 years, if you're lucky,
Right.
or five.
Right.
Right. This ran from 71 to 79. All in the Family was a groundbreaking American television sitcom that aired from 1971 to 79, created by Norman Lear and based on a British series Till Death Do Us Part. The show centered on the lives of the Bunker family, a working class white family living in Queens, New York. Kenny, did you know that this show, All in the Family, was based on a British series Till Death Do Us Part? I didn't know that.
No, that was before. I mean, even though I watched it because I have siblings and parents, it was a little before my time. I wasn't thought of when it when it came on, but I remember watching it.
Right, absolutely. The reruns, that's mainly what we've watched, actually, because, of course, from 71 to 79, we were just children. One of the main characters was Archie Bunker, the protagonist, the patriarch, a World War II veteran and a blue collar worker. He's characterized as lovable, but a bigot who holds rigid conservative views and struggles to adapt to a rapidly changing world, often arguing with anyone who disagrees with him. Have you ever met anyone like Archie Bunker?
Probably. I mean, that character that he is, there was a lot of old grumpy men that were like that in back in those times.
I met a lot of Archie Bunkers back then and now.
Right.
It wasn't just
They just
back then,
talk
that's for
different now,
sure.
but yeah.
Exactly. One of the characters of the show, Archie's son-in-law, Michael Meathead Stivic, was a college student and a liberal in 1960s countercultural values. He frequently clashed with Archie on political, religious, and social issues. I guess by 2026 standards, Michael would have been considered woke
Mm.
or a liberal, someone who cares about others and, want to have social programs and things like that a lot of Americans are currently against.
Right.
The show was watched by all groups, regardless of race, and most people from all sides found the show funny, which is why it was a massive hit. Because either you were Archie or you knew someone who was. Archie did sometimes say crazy things, absolutely, but society was a lot more laid back at the time and completely different and had a sense of humor versus how would you think that this show would do in 2026, Kenny, if there was a show like All in the Family?
It would do bad. Like a lot of people would be offended. But let me tell you something that stands out because I know you're going to get to this episode that you mentioned.
Okay.
I remember
Right.
the only episode that kind of stood out to me that in All in the Family is when it was them and the Jeffersons. You remember that one?
Absolutely. The
Yeah.
Jeffersons was their
And
neighbor.
he called he called George Jefferson's mom Mammy.
Oh my God.
But she lost it on him, right? And you got
Yes,
to
she
think that
did.
was back then. Who you calling mammy? You know,
Ah,
like, but but the thing that you think about it, that was way back then, and we watched that, and look at the outcome of that. How she didn't stand for that at all.
right.
That was right back then, right? Like that's the
Right.
way she should have been, back then. So, but today, if he had said mammy, that would be like, wow. Like they wouldn't even have focused on her response today. They would be focused on what he said.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And Archie and George Jefferson, Archie Bunker and George Jefferson, they had some epic battles going back and forth, right? I mean,
yeah,
just some amazing television. And but I don't think that people could handle that type of dialogue now in this current day and time.
nah.
We lost our sense of humor, Kenny, as a country, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk about the next show, which is The Jeffersons, which aired from 1975 to 1985, another long run. This was a groundbreaking CBS sitcom created by Norman Lear again, and a spinoff of All in the Family. It followed George and Louise Jefferson, a black couple who moved from Queens to a luxurious Manhattan high rise after the success of George's dry cleaning business, exploring themes of social mobility, racism, and interracial relationships. You remember Tom and Helen, those
Yeah,
characters on the show,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And George always had something to say about them and their interracial relationship.
Yeah.
I don't think that that kind of dialogue would do well in 2026. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, if people still had a sense of humor, I still laugh at it, and I'm different. If I watch it, I'll still be cracking up now. But yeah, a lot of people are, real sensitive to this.
Exactly. A lot of people don't know the Jeffersons were actually neighbors to Archie Bunker and his family, and that's before his dry cleaners blew up and they started making money and then moved to the luxurious penthouse. One of the main characters, George Jefferson, is portrayed by Sherman Hemsley. He's loudmouth, boastful, and prejudiced, yet ultimately a loving protagonist. A successful, ambitious African American owner of a chain of dry cleaners. He moved from Queens to Manhattan in the penthouse, frequently engaging in comedic high stakes conflicts with his neighbors, staff, and wife, Louise Wheezy. I know one of the neighbors, you know what? One of my favorite characters on the show was Mr. Bentley. He
Mr.
was
Bentley.
just oblivious to everything, was just a nice person, someone who would make a great neighbor, right?
Right.
Some of the arguments that he would get into were just absolutely outrageous. And, I really can't go into some of that dialogue because I don't want people to start zapping out on us. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is Sanford and Son.
Mm.
You remember this show, right? Exactly, right? This show aired from 1972 to 1977. It's a landmark American television sitcom developed by Norman Lear. He owned the 70s, Norman Lear. And Bud Yorkin, adapted from BBC. What's that, British broadcast company, I think, is BBC, Kenny?
BBC. Yeah.
Yeah. They had a series called Steptoe and Son, and that's what Sanford and Son was based on, this British television show.
Man, I didn't know
The
that.
centers, huh?
I didn't know that.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Well, we're learning something new. And you know what? I found that out. And when I did find out, I was like, really? I was
Mm.
like, huh, that's weird. So I started watching the show, the original show, and I didn't find it as funny, actually.
Hmm.
Okay. It centers around a turbulent, often hilarious relationship between Fred G. Sanford, played by Red Fox, a cantankerous, sarcastic 65-year-old widowed junk dealer, and his 34-year-old son, Lamont, who was played by Damon Wilson, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who lived
Rest in
with him in
peace.
the
Rest in
Watts
peace.
neighborhood. Yeah, he passed recently, so rest in peace, Damon Wilson. He was a decorated veteran. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Did you know that, Kenny?
No, not until I just was watching that online the other day.
Yeah. One of the main characters, Fred Sanford, was grumpy, stubborn, and often dramatic, yet generally good humored. He would often discuss race and other politically incorrect issues. His son Lamont was the equivalent to what we would call as woke. Again, another woke character that was, a man of the people, I guess you could say, right?
And it was amazing that him and Fred was so different, but the love between them was so strong. Like that's one of my favorite parts about the show. That bond
They
that they
were,
had, but even though they were completely night and day.
yes, they were
Yeah.
opposite, which actually made this show really funny, right?
Yeah.
And also the guy who played his son, Damon Wilson, his character was often the voice of reason, always trying to reason with his father and get him to act sensible. The show was groundbreaking. It had controversial moments, making it an instant hit, another hit, making a way for Americans to laugh at ourselves and laugh together,
Yeah.
which we rarely do now in this current day and time. People are just so, I don't know, caught up in all this other stuff that we can't even laugh at ourselves or laugh at anything, or you might get canceled by the cancel culture.
Like I can't
Right,
even
Kenny?
say yo battle axe.
Nah, well, I mean, you can say that, but you can't say what Fred was saying or what Archie was saying or what George Jefferson was saying, or you would be in trouble, my friend. Going into more recent times, In Living Color, which was in the 80s, was a
Oh
sketch
man.
comedy series created by Keenan Ivory Wayans that aired on Fox from April 15th, 1990 to May 19th, 1994.
One of the
Known
greatest
for a
shows ever.
sharp, oh yeah,
Hmm.
everyone knows that show. Known for a sharp satirical humor focusing on African American culture experiences, the show featured a predominantly black ensemble cast, including the Wayans siblings, Jamie Foxx, Jim Carrey. Memorable characters included Homie D. Clown. Do you remember Homie D. Clown, Kenny?
Homie, don't play that.
Homie, don't play that. Fire Marshal Bill. The series also featured Fly Girls dance troupe and musical guests. The series received a Primetime Emmy and had a rating success, including a Super Bowl halftime special.
Yep.
And you know what? I remember watching it, and it was really funny.
It was really funny.
This show was incredibly successful and tackled social issues, including race, politics, social justice. Some of the biggest names in Hollywood had their start on this show. Jamie Foxx, for one, Jennifer Lopez, Jim Carrey, the Wayans family, which, the entire family, Kim Coles, and many others. A lot of people got their start from this show because it was just a groundbreaking show at the time. And they had some really good musical acts on there as well, right, Kenny?
Yep. Do you think, let me ask you something. Do you think a lot of these shows, when we're talking about people lost their sense of humor, do you
Okay.
think that these type of shows should come back? What do you think about that?
I don't think these types of shows are going to be able to come back until 100 years, maybe.
Right. And I don't think they should anyway. I think they're just great where they are. Just leave it.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, right. You do have a point, but Chappelle Show came along after that, and people would have thought that a show at that time wouldn't have been able to stand social pressure, right? But it did, even though it was many years after these other shows.
Couldn't deny that approach from Dave Chappelle. That approach was just the best ever.
Most certainly controversial, but he struck a note with people that people could relate to it. And people knew good and well that in private that they were saying all these crazy things that he was saying on this show, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, come on and stop faking and just be who you are. But with cancel culture, a lot of people are on edge and a little careful about how they handle things, as you should, right? Because of course, people shouldn't just say all kinds of crazy things, but they say that you have to factor in that what you say comes with consequences. There's freedom
Yeah.
of speech, but
Yeah.
not freedom of consequence, right?
You can say whatever you want, but the reaction you get to it, it's on you.
Exactly. What was one of your favorite skits from In Living Color, if you can remember any?
Gosh, man, I do remember that episode with Homie the Clown when he was talking to that big executive, and he's like, "Homie, we got big plans for you, homie." And he said, "Oh yeah, what's that?" He's like, something like, "You just gotta kiss the ring."
I
and
remember
and
that.
he
Yeah,
stared
that was
and he
hilarious.
stared at the camera and he said, "Pow!" He said, "Homie, don't
Yeah,
play that." So
yeah.
you got
He
to think,
wound up his sock and hit him with it.
even though that he was a clown, but he was smart. So that I love the fact that he made it to that point, but still bust him in his head like, "Homie, don't play that. I ain't kissing your ring."
Yeah, homie definitely didn't sell out, right? Homie stood his ground.
And
One
then
of
of
my
course
favorite
Fire Marshal
skits.
Bill. That's my guy
You
too.
know what? I was gonna say that Fire Marshal Bill was just so off the hook. He was insane, right?
My man said,
And
Shay, you're standing in a pool of gasoline and you just have to have a stroke. Let me tell
Jim
you something.
Jim Carrey was ridiculous, man. He was absolutely hilarious. One of my favorite ones also was Anton the Bum. It was like played by oh my gosh, Damon Wayans was playing the homeless guy, and would always just oh my gosh, he would show up and was just the most annoying person ever, and it was just funny. It was just a really groundbreaking, funny show.
Everything about it was so funny. All the episodes, Wanda, all of them.
And to even drive this point home to show people how popular this show was, they did this Super Bowl halftime show, right? It was right in the middle of the Super Bowl at halftime. They had their own show. So what ended up happening is the show was so popular that the Super Bowl lost 25 million viewers from the Super Bowl halftime because of In Living Color. 25 million people tuned in to In Living Color during the Super Bowl halftime show.
I think I saw something about this. Yeah.
That is crazy. I mean, that shows you how popular that show was. The show was powerful, provocative, which created a way for Americans to laugh at ourselves and laugh together, which we don't do that much anymore. Now, let's talk about Chappelle's Show. All right.
Okay.
Okay. This was a groundbreaking, highly influential American sketch comedy series that aired on Comedy Central from 2000 to 2006, created by comedians Dave Chappelle and Neil Brennan. The show was renowned for its fearless, often controversial, and satirical take on American culture, particularly regarding race, celebrity, social stereotypes, and drug culture. The show had some incredibly controversial skits. I'm going to name a few of these skits, and then you tell me what you think, or if you think it's controversial.
Okay.
Frontline Blind Supremacy with Clayton Bigsby.
I knew you was gonna say that one first. That was
I was
my
going to say that. That's everyone's favorite. That's
was-
everyone's favorite.
it's just the funniest episode, man, ever.
That was controversial. If somebody tried to pull off that now, I don't think it would go.
I don't know. Dave is kind of legendary, man.
Yeah, that's Dave, and he just
Yeah.
had good timing. I said if someone new tried to pull off that now in 2026, I don't think so.
Yeah, they pulled the plug.
Absolutely. Charlie Murphy's True Hollywood Stories. That's the Rick James story and
Yeah.
Prince.
Yeah,
Those were
stories,
really funny.
when you can remember them, to this day, it's real funny.
Absolutely. Those shows
Yeah.
were hilarious. Those skits.
Rest in peace, Charlie, too.
Yeah, rest in peace, Charlie Murphy. This show, I couldn't write out the entire name because people would cancel us. It's called The Blank Family. The Blank Family. It's when Dave Chappelle played the milkman and the skit was filmed in black and white like it was back in the 50s.
You said we can't say that?
Huh?
We can't say it?
We can't say it
Why?
because it's the N-word family. We're not saying that. Yeah, that's going to create problems, right? I'm not saying that. You insane? Yeah, it's going to create problems, right? So that skit with him playing the milkman and all of that, I mean, oh my gosh.
Man, social media is saying all that stuff now, but I get you.
I'm like, what mindset do you have to be in to create on that level? The next one, the racial draft. Definitely one of my favorites. That was
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that was funny.
I'm about to as soon as this episode we done with this, I'm about to watch all of that right now. I'm getting
I
on
know,
YouTube
right?
watching all of that just so I can laugh.
The other one was the World Dice Championship. The World Dice Championship. That was funny. That had I think Bill Burr and
Yeah.
Charlie Murphy, and yeah, it had quite a few established comedians in there, and it was really funny. I mean,
I
it was
think
super
one of the
funny.
most
Ashley Larry.
controversial ones is not. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but the
No,
most
go ahead.
controversial one that wouldn't fly today at all, but the R. Kelly one. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Yeah.
because that's not funny. You know what I mean?
No.
Like once you know that, but when you watched it at the time, it's pretty funny.
Well, I mean, it's funny if you're just viewing it as a joke, but it's like when you look at it in terms of real life situations happening, then it's like, well, okay, it's not
Yeah.
funny in real life, but it's just
Right.
funny as a
As a-
parody or a joke, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And check this out. Although controversial, the Chappelle Show DVD was the highest selling DVD at the time. So the content apparently resonated with Americans and fans abroad. I mean, it was the biggest selling DVD at that time. That's
Wow.
incredible.
Yeah.
That's quite a feat. The show was extremely controversial, but I'm on the fence because is it really controversial or not? Because since a lot of these things are things that were really happening to people in real life, would that make life controversial because you're dealing with race issues or you're dealing with other issues? Does that make life controversial? Or is it just controversial when it's being parodied on a TV screen?
It's a good question.
Who can answer that, right? So in 2026, how do you think that type of a show would go over, Kenny?
It would just be controversial every episode. It'd be watching it. It'd be on the news.
He said it would be on the news.
Yeah.
That's funny. It would be on the news. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. In closing, what are your thoughts on what can America do to get our sense of humor back, to start I guess coming closer together instead of spreading far apart? Because this was a show that brought everyone together, white, black, whoever throughout the entire world, racist or not. A lot of people like that show. It brought people together.
All right. So my opinion on it is I think the humor is still there, actually.
Okay.
I do. I think the humor is there. I think everybody still has it in them. I think as families, when we're together, we still like to laugh and do that. I think publicly speaking, a lot of people are more timid in what the kickback is going to be for how they speak publicly. But I think all of that humor is still in all of us to some form. It's just tough to say what you really want to say or feel publicly because then you worry about what the after effects going to be. But I think we all still got it. I think everybody still got that same humor in them. When you say America, I mean, what's the percentage of that? I think most Americans still would laugh at all of these same shows right now. But I do think there's a portion of America that does get offended by a lot of that as well.
Absolutely. And I think that it's mainly the younger generation. For some reason, the older ones are kind of like, okay, we kind of get it. It's just a joke, even though some of it is really happening. But, I guess when you come through or come from hard times, because times were a lot harder back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s than they are now. Everything is pretty easy, as far as just life in general. Everything you want, you can have it instantly. And sometimes when life is so easy, you have to find things to make wrong.
Yeah.
You have to say, hey, everything is so easy. Let me see. You know what? I don't like this toaster. I'm gonna write something bad to the toaster company because this toaster is, it doesn't heat my bagel well. I got to
Right.
find a problem now because everything is so easy. Now I got to find a problem. I just bought new tires. You know what? They're comfortable and they're almost perfect, but I don't like the lettering on the sidewall.
Right.
I got to create problems now, right? Because everything is so easy. Now I got to create problems. But back when things were harder, anytime that we had the escape or a moment to escape and laugh, we would.
Yeah. And we moved on.
And we moved on.
Yeah.
So in closing, if you feel as though no one in the world cares about you, tell them what's up, Kenny.
Just know that we care.
We care. So like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any information or you want to share something on our show, just go to usingmyvoice.com where there's instructions on how you can be featured on our show. We'll see you next time.